Hey YouTube, Droid Addict here, and I'm coming at you with the full review for the Lenovo K910. Now, I got this one a little while ago, probably about a week and a bit ago, and I've been playing around with it, and I'm going to let you know how I made out. So first off, just before we get into the full review, I'm going to just give you the details on the phone. This is a 5.5-inch display. It's 1080, and the phone's actually pretty thin considering, and very light considering the size of it. Inside is a 3000 milliamp battery, which is even more impressive, the fact they got the phone so thin. And it's running a Snapdragon 800 with 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of storage. Now, one of the downsides of the phone is it's 16 gigs of storage. It's not expandable, so that's what you have. So you're stuck with that. The battery is non-removable. The back of the phone doesn't open up. The SIMs get loaded into the side here. And just a note, they are micro SIMs. So I had to go get my SIM changed out to get that in there from the regular size. Alright, so the phone itself, like I mentioned, very light, very thin. You have your volume on the side. You have your micro USB connector right there. Over on this side you have your SIM 1, SIM 2, power button, and your headphone jack. Now, the nice thing about the dual SIM on this is it's a dual active SIM. So it's not a dual standby. With the dual active, there's actually 2 processors in there, one controlling each SIM slot. So if you have a line and you're busy on it, the other one will still act like it's available. So you'll know that somebody's trying to get hold of you. So a nice little feature there with that for those of you that would need that feature in the phone. The display itself, very, very nice, very crisp. I wouldn't say it has the same pop and it's not as vivid as some of the displays that are coming out. The Note 3 is a very nice display. I actually like the display a little bit better on the Zoppo ZP998 that I reviewed. But still, this display is still very nice, don't get me wrong. It's hard to see the viewing angles, but they're very good. And that's about it for overview. Let's get into the full review. So first things first, something I need to mention is this phone was definitely designed just to be in the Chinese market. There's a 4G version that's available as well. This is not that one. I'm not sure how that one's structured, but this one was designed just to be self-contained. Obviously, by the software they have, Lenovo want to keep you contained in their own little ecosystem with their apps and their own store and whatnot. If you want the Google Play services on it, then you need to root the phone and then have those installed. The actual ROM and software they have loaded on this, it works very well. It's very smooth. It's very nice. No complaints with performance on it, but it is a little unique. Okay, so I'm going to go over some of the things that they have on there. The actual Vibe ROM they have on here, the launcher that they use, the Lenovo launcher, I don't like it. Okay, and I'll explain why. Even though it looks nice, the icons look nice, and you can move around with good performance, there's no menu. You can't go back. There's not a main menu where all your apps sit. Then you drop the ones that you commonly use on the main display. You can't do that with this. Everything gets dropped to the main screens. Kind of like an iPhone type thing. So 2 issues that I had with the phone software-wise is the actual texting. When the texts come in, it doesn't want to take the information, the name of the person that's texting you from the contacts. Even though you might send it out with that and it'll find it, and send it out by name, and you'll have their picture on the side and whatnot. You're not going to get the text back that way. It's going to come back, it's just a blank profile pic, and it's just going to have the telephone number. For whatever reason, I haven't found a way to bypass that yet. Pretty annoying. For me, that's an issue. It's very confusing trying to remember everybody's number as opposed to who's actually texting you back. So that was one issue. The second issue was the contacts themselves. They took a very long time to sync, to the point where I didn't think they were going to sync at all, and I actually had to import them manually. I then wiped them and played around with it, and it did eventually actually sync with my contacts, with my Google services, but it took a while. Okay, so some of the things that they did that I did like with it is some of the apps that they put in here are very nice, like the Snap It camera, the gallery they have that's embedded in the phone is very nice as well. It's got a very nice display, like the See It gallery. It's pretty cool. It gives you like a breakdown of the pictures you've taken by the week, and then you have your actual albums broken down individually. So I like that. Something else that I really liked was they have some features that you can turn on. Up here you can see that I've turned on, it has your network speed. It shows you what's actually running on the phone, so you can have that up. Also has a feature that you can lay the phone down flat, and what'll happen is it'll just turn itself off. I didn't like that feature, but they have an alternate feature where you can just shake the phone and it turns itself off. That I really like. That's pretty cool. They also have an extra app that you can download. It's a Lenovo app called Share It. It's pretty cool when you click on it. If the other person has this app and you can send it to them, it gives you the option. What you can do is you can pick things that you have on your phone, whether it be documents, music, pics, anything like that. And what it'll do is it'll connect to them via Wi-Fi. It's almost like a Wi-Fi direct kind of setup. And then you can send it, they can click opt to receive it, and it'll send the file over. I sent a pic the other day, and it was fast. Lenovo are claiming that it's going to transfer 40 times the speed of Bluetooth. It worked very well. It was very quick. Very nice little app you can put on the phone. But that's available to anybody. That's just something Lenovo has as a set of their these new apps that they have coming out with these phones. Something else that it really got me frustrated in the beginning was this Secure It app. Now what it was doing was it almost works like a firewall on your computer, that it'll stop stuff that it thinks it's a threat. So it's a big security system they have on here. And what it was doing was I didn't like the stock app for texting, so what I did is I replaced it. So I put Chomp, or I tried a few different ones, and what it would do is when I try and send it, every time it wanted to ask me permission to send it. So I had to click again to send the text out. If I waited too long, I think it gives you something like 5 seconds, then it would shut it down and it wouldn't send it. It would say send failed. Right? What you can do is when you go into this, at first I hated it, now I see its purpose and it's actually kind of nice. It's got a bunch of stuff on here. You can set up your data usage and whatnot, free up some RAM. So it's got everything kind of all set up in one place. And you have your app control. And right in here, it gives you your privacy guard. Now, right here you can see it says send SMS. When you go in there, you have to enable these. You have to click on them to tell it that it's okay. If not, it causes all sorts of problems. So I figured I'd pass that on. It was all sorts of headaches in the beginning until I figured that out. But it is kind of a cool feature. Now I'm kind of used to it. It's good. Connecting the phone to the computer was a little bit of an issue. What happened was when I connected it to the computer, it wanted to run a Lenovo suite. It's kind of like a proprietary thing that it's going to control how you transfer things back and forth. If you want to load music onto your phone or whatnot, kind of like what HTC have in some of their phones. And I'm not a big fan of that, but it is what it is. So I was going to deal with it. I went to go load it on. All was well. It was all in English. And as soon as it actually loaded and started asking for giving instructions on how to work it, all in Chinese. Couldn't figure out what I was clicking. Completely useless to me. And I was looking around online trying to find an English version of it. I haven't found one yet. So what I did is I just came up with a workaround. So it's not quite as fast as plugging in with the cable, but still very convenient. And there's an app that you can get called AirDroid. And what AirDroid does is allows your computer to connect to your phone, and it's very easy to set up, very quick, and it gives you complete access to your phone from your computer, which is kind of neat in itself. And then what you can do is you can drag and drop files, load files, whole folders if you want, and then you can just transfer them to your phone and it sends it wirelessly. A little bit slower, but I was still getting about 5 megabit per second transfer rate. So not bad, and definitely something I could deal with, but I'd rather have it plugged in and be able to use that software to transfer. So that's another issue with the phone. So let's get out of here. I'm going to go into Nova. It's a lot easier to deal with. So I loaded Nova on there, and now you can see I have my main menu where I have all my apps. It works just as well, nice and smooth. So let's stay in that for now. The settings menus and the pull down menus, to me it reminds me a lot of Samsung's TouchWiz. You can see it's all kind of layered, gives you a whole bunch of different options. And when you go into the main settings, and you can see up here, you have different areas. So everything's not just in your straight one menu. You have to slide across and find what you're looking for. So that's where you find some of those extra features. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, just navigating around, seeing where they've moved things to. At first I didn't like it so much, but now I've gotten used to it. Not a big deal, and it's actually nice because they put a lot more control of your phone in there. So you know, if you get one of these, give it some time, it'll grow on you. It's actually pretty nice. So Wi-Fi on this phone. What I did is I used speed test, and what I did is I took a test right by my router. Then I took one on my upstairs level at the furthest point, and in my basement at the furthest point. Some phones, a lot of devices have had a little bit of trouble on the upstairs level, and some have had no signal at all in the basement level. Usually it's a lot weaker if it gets anything at all. Okay, and I took the settings both in the 5 gigahertz and the 2.4, so it gave us a good feel for both. All right, so the results were, as you can see here, so right by my router, I was getting just about 31, and this is with the 5 gigahertz. Well, now when I went upstairs, I was really surprised. The Wi-Fi was surprisingly weak on this phone. I was only getting about just over 3. When I went to the basement, same thing, just over 3. So I was getting signal, but it was very, very poor signal. That really shocked me. I was expecting a lot more for the Wi-Fi out of this phone. A little bit better when I went to the 2.4. You can see I got, by the router, I got 25. Sorry, I mixed these up. There's 27.5 right by the router. 25 was on the upstairs level, and just about 9 in the basement. So very surprising. I was expecting a lot more. The call quality on this phone, for those of you that are big talkers and use that a lot, the call quality is very good. It's amazing on this phone. Very clear. I noticed it was very loud right from the get-go, not like a lot of the MediaTek phones where you have to try and get into engineering settings and boost up the volume. It was very crisp, very, very clear, and I don't do a lot of talking. And just the other night, one of the few calls I have made with the phone, I was talking to a friend, and they commented. They said, "What are you talking on? What phone?" Because it's really, really clear. So that goes to show you that the you know, they've done a good job with that, and you know, very, very impressive. So the loudspeaker on this phone is on the back, like many other phones. So let's try some tracks that we have here. See what it sounds like. So as you can hear, loudspeaker on this is very good. It is slightly louder than most other phones that I've tested out. Fairly clear. It's crisp. It has some bass in there. It's a good mix of everything. I do notice that when you have it cranked up, you know, even though because it's pushing the volume so much, it does tend to distort a little bit, but it's not a lot. You know, so the speaker is very good. Obviously, it could be a little bit better for those of you that are looking for a phone that is great for playing back music constantly, but no complaints. I would say it's better than a lot of the MediaTek phones that I've tried lately. Okay, and for video playback, let's try a few different types of clips. Keep in mind these are 1080 clips. Handles it very nicely. So I threw a whole bunch of different formats at it. It handled them all very well. Everything was really clear. No issues at all. You know, for if you watch a lot of movies and a lot of media on your phone, it does a great job. As for web browsing, I wouldn't say that this phone does really any better of a job with the web browsing than the MT6592 phones that I've tried. You know, they're definitely on par. I find the loading speeds are about the same. Same kind of fluidity between load ups and screens. So it does a good job, no issues. Web browsing's pretty quick. Okay, on with the cameras. The cameras on this phone are one of the big features. People keep on talking about it. It has a f1.8 camera on the back. The front-facing camera takes beautiful pictures. They're very nice, very clear. And the back is a 13 megapixel camera. I believe it's a Sony lens. And let's take a look and see how it handles itself. So as you can see, it's very quick taking pictures. Very clear. And that is the stock app. Now it has a lot of really cool settings. You go into it, it has all your night shots, it has your panoramic pictures where you can just basically hit the button and take a picture, move it around, and it'll stitch it all together. So that's pretty cool, nice little feature. So everything's loaded for easy access on the side there. And what I'll do is I'll put some pics up in some lower lighting conditions and some bright light conditions so you can see the difference. The one thing I want to mention is the flash on this phone. It's a dual LED flash. Now, it is very, very good at what it does. Probably too good. There's been some instances when I've been using the stock Lenovo app where it's dim, you want to use the flash kind of in between whether you should be using it or not, and what it'll do is it's so bright it'll actually wash out the picture. So I'm not sure if that's just a software problem on Lenovo's part and they need to tweak it, but you know, it was a problem in some cases. Sometimes, you know, you figured you wanted the flash on, you used it, and then you kind of regretted putting that on. So you know, that's an odd complaint to have with a phone, a camera on a phone, is that the flash was too bright. It's kind of the opposite of what we usually have. So kind of interesting, and I'll show you some pics. So the GPS on this phone is fantastic. I put the phone into airplane mode, which eliminates all the data, all the assistance it would get, and it took 21 seconds on a clear day outside to get a signal, which was really good. Subsequent locks were about 1 or 2 seconds. They were right on it. It was perfect. I took it for a spin, drove around for a while, and it was awesome. There was no issues, no glitches. You know, gave you lots of notice for where to make your turns. Very, very well done. GPS is very good. Very strong. Now I'm indoors now. It's already had a lock, so that was a warm lock, but still, as you can see, it's picking up lots of satellites very quickly, and I'm indoors. So very good job. GPS is very good on this phone. So for hardware on this phone, I did some benchmark testing. This phone is an animal. It's an absolute beast. It's up there with all the top competition, especially for its price point. This phone is phenomenal for performance. So we'll start out with the standard Antutu benchmark. And 34,870. So how does that rank? That puts it ahead of the Samsung Galaxy Note 3, the Xperia Z Ultra, the Xiaomi Mi 3, the LG G2. You know, it is the king. It's great. All right, CPU Prime. And what that shows us, so we got 6,457. And what that does, that puts us ahead of the LG G2, which scored an even 6,000. So good job there. You know, it's using the Adreno 330, so the Nanomark II test was better than what we were getting out of the MediaTek MT6592 with the Mali 450 quad core. Significantly better. You know, considering this is a 1080 screen, 60 frames per second for a GPU test, did phenomenal. And the Volemo testing. So here are the results. The HTML5 stuff scored 2,863, which puts it just below the Sony Xperia Z Ultra, but only, see, that scored 2,919. So it's actually ahead of the Note 3 in that category. You go to the metal section, which is more of a GPU type of testing, and it was just slightly below the Note 3. Note 3 was 1,282 and 1,177 for the Lenovo K910. So great job. This phone is an animal. The performance is great on it. I've never had any slowdowns, any hang-ups on anything that I've run. It's performed very well all around, and it shows. So let's do some testing on some video games. I'm not going to use things like Jetpack Joyride and stuff like that. Let's just get into the the big games here. First, we'll start out with a little bit of Dead Trigger 2. Now this phone defaulted to everything being on high graphics. So everything's maxed out on this. You can see it's very, very responsive. Let's take a look here. All the reflections, the rain coming down. And I'm going to say you can feel the performance difference on this versus the MT6592. It didn't perform poorly by any means, but you can feel the difference with this. Okay, we'll try some Asphalt. Same thing with Asphalt, it defaulted automatically to the highest settings, and it's also very, very responsive. I'm going to apologize beforehand. I am terrible at this game. Racing games are not my thing, and don't laugh. I'm checking the performance of the phone, not my performance playing the game. Alright? Stay on the road. Come on. Oh my god. Alright, that's enough embarrassing myself. So as you can see, the phone handled itself very, very well with the gaming. Everything was really smooth. Very responsive, and the back of the phone actually isn't very warm. It's warm, but not as much as you think running on high graphics. So good job there. So if you're looking for a gaming phone, this handles it very well. The Lenovo K910 uses a Snapdragon 800, so I was kind of curious. I've read a lot of things saying the Snapdragon 800 is not a very battery efficient chip, so the only way to really know is to test it. So what I did is I kind of used the phone just general use, and a little bit of data, a little bit of YouTube, listen to some music, stuff like that. So a mix of everything, but just moderate use, light to moderate use, and the phone can easily make it through the day. I usually keep my phone at half brightness or less, and that helps out obviously. The real issue that I ran across is when I put the video test to this phone. And so what I did is I took a video, I just looped it and let it go, and the phone got 5 hours, which really isn't that good. I was kind of disappointed. Considering that there's phones like the LG G2 and the Note 3 that are supposedly getting very good battery life out of the Snapdragon 800, that was a little bit of a disappointment. And I'll show you the screenshot here. Right there. Took the phone down to 8% and it got 5 hours of screen time. Now that was with the SIM in and the Wi-Fi on, but still very disappointing, especially for a 3000 milliamp battery. So my final thoughts on this phone, they're kind of mixed, like the hardware, the performance, the way the phone runs is very good. I can't fault it in any way in any of those areas. The benchmarks were great. The cameras were very, very good. GPS was super strong. So all those areas, it was fantastic. I was kind of surprised. The Wi-Fi was a lot weaker than what you'd expect in a phone with all those pluses going for it. All those other categories that are usually problems for phones, it handled with no problem, and then they kind of dropped the ball a little bit on the Wi-Fi. So, that was a little disappointing. My biggest issue with the phone is it's all software. There's a lot of apps that weren't compatible, so that was a little bit of a problem. There's some banking apps that I rely on that just weren't available for my phone. And no matter what I did, whether I tried to sideload them or whatnot, they wouldn't go on. Some simpler apps, but it's still a little bit of an inconvenience. And then some of those other things that I mentioned in the software section as well, having the connectivity to the computer. There's workarounds, but you want those things to work right from the get-go. That being said, in Lenovo's defense, this phone wasn't designed for the North American market. It was designed for China. So, it's kind of one or the other. You kind of got to look at it both ways. So this phone, for the price, is a great deal. That being said, at around this price point, there are also a lot of phones that are starting to come out. They're going to trickle out over the next several months. That would be good competition for it. So that's the Lenovo K910. If the video helped you at all, like, subscribe, and we'll be back with some more reviews very, very soon.
Hi there, this is Ranjit and I have this Lenovo Vibe Z with me, and in this video we're going to do the first looks and a hands-on overview with this device. And recently it was launched in India, and this is the flagship Android phone by Lenovo, and it sports some actually very good specs. It sports the leading Snapdragon 800 processor, and I just booted up the phone. The phone looks pretty snappy. It's not like the last Lenovo phone that I reviewed a month ago, that was Vibe X. That was highly underpowered, but this looks like a beast. So let's have a close look at the same. And before we proceed, I just want to thank Faisal Communications for providing this unit for testing. And if you're buying this unit in India, you also do get this flip cover, which is kind of a smart cover. So make sure that you get it if you're buying this one in India. And regarding the pricing, Faisal Communications quoted me a street price of around 34,000 for this phone. And again, the pricing of phones fluctuate a lot in India. So I'll have the link for Flipkart also in show notes. In terms of US pricing, that works out to be around 560 US dollars. And the first thing that I notice is this huge screen. That's a 5.5-inch screen, and it's a full HD. That's a 1080p screen. And again, as you can see, the viewing angles are very good, and it's an IPS grade screen. And also the screen is pretty bright. And before we move, let me give you a physical overview. The back sports a 13 megapixel camera, but the interesting thing is that it has dual flash. But apart from that, the sensor on this is actually pretty good, and it can go as low as f1.8. So even in low lighting, it should be very good. And the back actually looks like, what do you say, steel or aluminum finish, but no, it's still plastic, but looks very good. We do have this chrome type finish at the bottom, which looks actually pretty nice. And overall, I would say in terms of build quality, the phone looks really sturdy and nice. On the top, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack. We have the power button over here, and this is the SIM tray. The Lenovo Vibe Z comes in two models, dual SIM and the single SIM variant. Internationally, it's the single SIM variant, and that's the one that we are getting in India, the single SIM variant. So this is the SIM tray and nothing else over here. And on the bottom, we have the micro USB slot that will be used for charging this device. And on this end, we just have the, what do you say, volume rocker. The buttons are made up of metal and they have good feel. The power button, volume button are made up of metal. So let's just unlock this and you get to this 5.5-inch screen. And to give you an idea, let me place some other phones nearby to give you an idea about the size. And as you can see, it's actually pretty slim phone. It's a pretty thin phone. It's even slimmer than the Nexus 5. This is the Nexus 5 that has a 5-inch screen, and this is the iPhone 5s that has a 4-inch screen. So this should give you an idea about the size of this Vibe Z. So let's just unlock this device and let's have a look. The thing is that Lenovo has still decided to use this custom UI. You don't get any app tray, and all the apps you just slide in, and it looks very similar to iOS type interface, I would say. Even opening of folders looks like that. And let's just go inside. Again, you'll see we do have some quick toggles over here, but again, the interface has been heavily skinned. So let's look at the system, and let's go to about the device and version info. And as you can see, it's running the Android version 4.3 that is Jelly Bean. But Lenovo has mentioned that this phone will get the KitKat update soon. And now coming to the storage, here it is really peculiar. We just get this Lenovo Vibe Z in one variant, that is 16 GB of internal storage, and we do not have any micro SD card expansion slot. So it's kind of surprising. We don't get, as of now, the only model available is 16 GB. So that's the storage you get. And out of the box, it shows that the available storage that we are getting is 10.8 GB. But I did notice that Lenovo has installed a lot of apps, for example, and you can uninstall a lot of them. For example, let's just uninstall some stuff. For example, we have Asphalt 7 that is pre-installed. Let's try to uninstall and see if it we can uninstall and thereby get some more internal storage. It has uninstalled, so let's go back. And again, now as you can see, now we have 11.5 GB or so. So you can uninstall some of the apps and get to around close to about 12 GB of storage. So that's for the storage. Again, on display, it has all the sensors as expected, auto brightness sensor, everything. We do even have a LED notification light over here. And again, we do have a lot of, customization that Lenovo has done. For example, if you move to the feature thing, we have a lot of smart features, and it looks like they were inspired from the Samsung Galaxy series. So we do have a lot of stuff here like smart sleep, smart dialer. One thing I liked is that as this is a white phone, if you go to the dialer and if you just tilt the phone, the keypad tilts, so it is kind of easy to dial. So I saw a lot of, what do you say, small tweaks like this that Lenovo has done. But again, if you are a person who likes stock experience, that's not the thing. Again, it's a heavily skinned interface. We do also have a lot of themes over here, and using which you can easily just change the entire theme of the device, and it works pretty seamlessly. And yes, this skin is a little bit heavy, I would say, and not many Android purists will like it, but I was playing with this device for the last 20 minutes and it seems to handle it without any issues. Again, it's powered by a very powerful processor. So let me also talk about the processor. It's the Snapdragon 800 processor. That's a quad-core processor clocked at 2.2 gigahertz. The GPU on this device is the Adreno 330 GPU. In terms of RAM, we have 2 GB of RAM. So it's a highly spec'd up phone. And let us quickly just connect to our Wi-Fi network. Again, as you can see. Again, one thing I did notice is that in terms of Wi-Fi, it just has 2.4 gigahertz band, not the 5 gigahertz band like many other high-end Android phones have. So let me quickly connect to my Wi-Fi network and I'll be back. And we are connected to our Wi-Fi network. So let's look at the stock browser. This is the stock browser, and this is the keyboard. Again, Lenovo did not make a lot of modifications in terms of the keyboard. Let's just go to our website, that's tech2buzz.com. And it's fairly easy to type, and this is the first time that we are going to our website, and as you can see, it loaded it actually very quickly. Again, the pinch to zoom gesture works as expected. Again, it's a pretty high-end phone in terms of specs. So let's open one of the stories, and we have a YouTube video, and let's see how it handles it. And let us play this video, and I'll maximize the volume.
Hi there, this is from tech2buzz.com, and I have the Sony Xperia Z1 with me.
Let me tell it. Again, the viewing angles are excellent, I would say, on this device. So as you can see, we have no problems playing YouTube content that's on web pages. That works seamlessly. Again, we have 3 touch type capacitive buttons. This is the menu, this is the home, and this is for the back. In terms of apps, again, Lenovo has pre-installed a lot of apps. Again, as you can see, in tools we have flashlight, compass. We also have FM radio, so that's interesting, because in some of the high-end phones, particularly Samsung, we are not getting FM radio. And we do have Evernote and Kingston Office. UC browser is also installed, and this card reader, etc. So a lot of apps have been pre-installed, but good thing is that as I've told you, we can uninstall many of the apps if you don't want them. Now let's also quickly just look at the camera, and actually I've heard a lot of good things about the camera. We do have a lot of settings, as you can see. Again, we won't get into that quickly, but just quickly let's look at the camera, and we do have that tap to focus functionality, and there is almost no lag, I would say. So let's preview these photographs. Again, here it looks very good. In fact, again, the flash did not fire. So again, I'll be testing the camera a lot more, and I'll also be doing a gaming review with this Lenovo Vibe Z. So again, stay tuned to my channel. If you have any particular questions regarding this device, do let me know in the YouTube comments. I'll try to answer them. So that's it for now for this quick overview of this Lenovo Vibe Z. Thank you. If you aren't subscribed to my YouTube channel, subscribe to the same. I'll be making a lot more videos. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching this video. This is Ranjit, and I hope to see you in my next video.